Some days I am honestly at a loss of what will move the needle to get people to care about homelessness and its solutions. Not performative concern, not the annual burst of outrage when somebody sees an encampment beside a bike trail and suddenly discovers that poverty exists. I mean actual care. Sustained attention longer than a TikTok clip and longer than a municipal election cycle. Because here's the thing. We already know the essential ingredients of what works. Supports at the right level of intensity matched with a place to call home. People need somewhere to live, they need something meaningful to do and someone to love. That's not mysterious anymore. We're not archaeologists brushing dust off ancient tablets trying to decode the lost secrets of housing policy. We know what reduces homelessness. We know what stabilizes people. We know what prevents people from becoming homeless in the first place. The issue, it's not ignorance. The issue is implementation at scale. Imagine if we had the cure to cancer, but we're told only some people would get treatment because it was too expensive. Each year, we'd slightly increase the number of people receiving treatment and call it progress. We maybe announce ambitious targets about ending cancer by 2030. We hold conferences, we strike committees, we create pilot projects, but at the end of the day, the cure exists and we simply choose not to implement it at the scale required. And imagine if we blamed the person with cancer for having cancer rather than giving them life-saving treatment. Now suppose this particular type of cancer disproportionately impacted Black, Indigenous, and other racialized communities, or members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, especially young people rejected by their families, or people living with addiction, or people with mental illness, or people with disabilities. Would we respond with the same urgency? Would we invest at scale, or would we quietly tolerate it because the people most impacted are already at the margins of society? That's increasingly how I feel about homelessness. We speak about it with sympathy, but fund solutions with spare change and symbolic scraps. We know homelessness can be dramatically reduced. It does not have to become an increasingly normalized feature of modern life. It does not need to become urban wallpaper that we all pretend not to notice while quietly adjusting our route to the coffee shop. We know communities need affordable housing, deeply affordable housing, rental assistance, supportive housing, prevention, mental health supports, addiction treatment, housing-focused shelters, effective street outreach, and systems that work together instead of against one another. We know communities need sufficient housing supply across different price points and models. Shared housing, motel acquisition and conversion, single-room occupancy units, accessible units for people aging into homelessness, permanent supportive housing with professionally trained staff available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, cooperatives, portable subsidies that can be used with private landlords. We know nonprofit housing providers need reliable capital and operating funding instead of surviving in a perpetual pageant of panic, paperwork, and political posturing. Not all housing solution eggs in one basket, but enough different baskets and enough different eggs to meet the realities of different people in different markets. And maybe most importantly, choice. Instead of saying, here's the only option available for you, we could say, here are some options that may fit your needs. Which one feels right to you? That's what dignity sounds like. Though increasingly dignity feels like something society wants people to earn before they receive it, which is an odd approach to human rights. We also know homelessness does not exist in isolation from other systems. We know there are connections between the likes of child welfare and youth homelessness, or between discharges from corrections and homelessness, or between untreated mental illness and homelessness, between toxic drug poisoning and homelessness, between domestic violence, gender-based violence, intimate partner violence, and homelessness, between aging on a fixed income and homelessness, between loss of culture and homelessness, between trauma and homelessness. And yet, we continue acting surprised by homelessness rather than addressing the conditions producing it. I've been to so many municipal council meetings, town halls, public consultations, and open houses over the past few decades. In recent years, it is crystal clear to me we have reached a boiling point in public's patience with visible homelessness. Over and over, I hear that homelessness is the fault of the person, couple, or family, rather than the result of failed policy, fragmented funding, bureaucratic bottlenecks, and systems that are beautifully designed to admire problems instead of solve them. I hear time and again that people experiencing homelessness simply made poor life choices. I've heard that people migrate into the community for accessing services, rather than realizing almost every one of those people had a home at some point in the very community where they find themselves homeless. And at the exact same time, many communities continue fighting the very housing and supports that would reduce homelessness. That contradiction fascinates me. People want homelessness gone, but often do not want anything built, funded, staffed, rezoned, subsidized, or supported that would actually make homelessness go away. Apparently, we want fewer homeless people so long as absolutely nothing changes. That's not policy. That's privilege paralysis. NIMBY actions are increasingly litigious and vexatious. Politicians continue demanding solutions be implemented in a cost-effective manner while somehow also keeping everybody from a wildly diverse constituency perfectly pleased, which is politically convenient nonsense. If your strategy requires solving homelessness without upsetting anybody, congratulations, you have accidentally chosen homelessness. So let me ask you something. Which of the following outrages you to the point where you will demand action by elected officials? And which of the following are, by default, okay with or at least tolerating? Okay, how about pregnant women in encampments? Are you okay with that? How about children spending formative years growing up in the backseat of a sedan or bouncing between motel rooms? While meanwhile at City Hall, there's a furious debate about zoning bylaws and parking minimums. Veterans who once served their country lining up outside shelters hoping there's still a bed available for tonight. How about people struggling with addiction finally deciding they want help only to discover there is no detox bed available and no treatment space that they can access quickly? Are you okay with seniors becoming homeless for the first time late in life because their meager income no longer comes close to covering rent and groceries and medication? Are you okay with people with severe mental illness cycling endlessly between emergency rooms, shelters, policing, psychiatric holds, and the streets because we continue managing their situation instead of resolving it? Communities demanding homelessness disappear while fighting the housing and supports required to make homelessness disappear? Are you okay with that? Because all of this is happening right now, not somewhere else. Not in theory, not in a documentary narrated by somebody standing in front of a sad piano and slow motion footage of tents. Right now, likely in the community where you live. And if we are not willing to tell elected officials at every level of government that this is unacceptable and that we expect solutions implemented at scale that are aligned to evidence, then we should at least be honest enough to admit we are tolerating homelessness. It is incompatible to be outraged at the problem and outraged at the solution. That might actually be the whole conversation. Maybe moving the needle and building momentum to see solutions implemented at scale starts with something simpler than people think. Maybe it starts with actually talking about homelessness honestly with the people around us, around dinner tables, at work, with friends, with family, in community groups, in conversations with elected officials, not just complaining about encampments or visible poverty, but talking about what we are willing to support to actually reduce homelessness. Because public opinion matters. Political courage usually follows public courage. If enough people demanded solutions with the same intensity that they demand homelessness disappear, governments would move faster. Communities would move faster. systems would move faster. We all have a role in deciding whether homelessness remains a normalized feature of society or becomes something genuinely rare. But silence has a way of becoming acceptance. And acceptance has a way of becoming architecture, budgets, bylaws, and ballots. We know more about how to reduce homelessness than at any other point in modern history. We know the essential ingredients. What we lack is not knowledge. What we lack is a collective will to implement the solutions at the scale the crisis demands. Because history, it won't judge us by whether homelessness existed. History will judge us by whether we accepted it.